A lot of people have been telling me recently, like, it just feels like everything's fake, like the world's not real, like there's just nobody really crushing it the way that they used to. Just these kind of vague statements about stuff doesn't feel real. I think part of the reason is because, like, back in the day, you used to have to really fight to become the best or professional. And still to this day, you still have to do that, but not really at the same time. You can have a whole bunch of people in the middle and on the lower end who can do it too at any point, right? Like, and I know this kind of like I mean, it kind of hurts me even because while I'm here, everything I've done over the last 11 years, I can prove this point right now. Like, hey, you want to be a radio star? You want to be on the radio? You can do it right now. You can just create a YouTube channel and create your own show, and it's the same thing. You could become huge, small, kind of big, or insignificant, whatever. But you can do it right now. What, you want to be a huge musician or whatever? You can just do it right now, in your house, right now. You want to be an actor or make videos where you show off how you can act? You can do it right now. You want to make like short films or short movies? You can do it right now, like right now. You don't have to go through all this stuff. You can do it. You don't need to get a record deal. You don't need to get on the radio. You don't need to do all those things. So what's going on is there's just a massive cesspool, massive amount of people like flooding just everywhere for everyone's attention. And a lot of those people are going to be people who are just learning how to do it, people who are subpar, and some people who are just bad, and some people who are like almost really good. And because of that, it's hard to distinguish. But also because of that, you're going to have a lot of people liking and loving subpar stuff, which is going to then breed more subpar stuff. So, it's kind of like, music gets dumber, people get dumber, shows get dumber, things get watered down. The blurring of being really good versus professional versus independent is all kind of blurred together. Back in the day, the cream used to rise to the top. Now, it can just start that way. You know what I mean? And eventually, it still does have to rise to the top in some way or form or whatever. But you can still kind of like fake it till you make it, or even fake it enough to be making it, if that makes any sense. Like, it's a very strange time. But this is why you see a lot of this sort of confusion among people, and why you see a lot of stuff that's like almost really sick and perfect and beautiful, but it's just like not quite good enough to maintain your attention for longer than like a few minutes. Like, you might listen to someone's album and you're like, that's pretty good, I kind of like it, but then you forget about it 2 seconds later. But anyway, leave it in the comments. I don't know, expand upon what I just said. I mean, I'm a good example of it, right? Like, I didn't want to go to Florida to take the $28,000 a year radio gig that might have moved me up a rung in a ladder system, that might have eventually brought me to a bigger radio gig that eventually maybe I would have done something different. Instead, I was like, nope, can't do that. Stayed working, making, $30,000-$40,000 because I couldn't risk going to Florida to make $28,000, whatever it was at the time. And then 2 years later, my YouTube channel took off, and I was making much more than that Florida gig that I didn't take. And then I made it on YouTube for years after that, and had this like sort of instant on my own success, right? So it didn't force me to have to sort of grow over these 5-10 years in radio and suffering and paying these crazy amounts of dues. Instead, you just kind of are able to, grind it out for a little bit. Now, you could argue that I spent, years before that, not doing well. But my point is, anybody right now at any point can spend like 2 weeks to 10 weeks at making a couple of songs, or creating a show, or creating a video, or creating something, and just boom, like you can have some kind of interaction, viewership, response from the world on your art, on your profession. And that is kind of crazy. It's kind of awesome, but it's kind of crazy, and it does lead to these things that people are talking about. Anyway, I'm out of here. Later. I'm Joe Cronin. I've got a boner.